Hello, and welcome everyone to another special weekend event presented by Outfest. Also, happy Global Pride. I can't thank enough of our current sponsors and partners, including AARP, Warner Media, Gilead, NBC Universal, The Hollywood Reporter, Billboard Magazine, as well as our Outfest members, incredible board, and donors for making the type of programming you have seen recently, and for the generosity we need at this moment to pivot and thrive in an era in which so many like-minded organizations are struggling. I'm Damien Navarro, the Executive Director of Outfest. Outfest is one of the only global LGBTQIA+ arts, media, and entertainment organizations whose programs empower artists, communities, and filmmakers to transform the world through their stories, while also supporting the entire life cycle of their careers from our Outset program, screenwriting labs, and UCLA Legacy program. I encourage our viewers to visit outfest.org to explore Outfest membership and its benefits, as well as our current and fundraising empathy campaign and the programs that we'll be launching at this critical time. Your support to either the campaign or to become a member both helps provide Outfest with the resources we need to drive our mission and impact. Tonight, you are joining us to celebrate the incredible series After Forever. After Forever Season 1 garnered 5 2018 Emmy Awards, including Digital Drama Series and Outstanding Writing. Season 2 has also already garnered 6 Emmy Award nominations. After Forever follows the story of Brian, played by the illustrious Kevin Spirtus, and Jason, played by the always charming Mitchell Anderson, who together make up a 50-ish New York City gay couple who appear to have it all until they don't. The series follows them and their spirited friends through a journey of love, loss, and what it's like to move on. The series playfully places the viewer in the middle of both heartbreaking, hilarious, and dramatic situations as we follow the cast journey from the past to the present. If you haven't watched Season 2 already, we encourage all of our viewers to visit www.unitedinpridefest.com, which Outfest has currently made complimentary, to log in and watch following this Q&A. The cast and crew will be live tweeting over the next few hours and a half to the audience, and we encourage all of your questions and participation. Tonight, we invite you to join in our conversation for the next hour with the show's creators Michael Slade and Kevin Spirtus, director of Season 2, Tina Sessa Ward, and a number of the cast. So, to begin with, I'd like to first bring in and introduce co-creator and writer of After Forever, Michael Slade. Michael's a renowned playwright, television writer, and award-winning children's author, as well as multiple Emmy Award-winning television writer. His plays have been produced on nearly every continent, as well as in New York City, Los Angeles, and all across America. Michael, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. That was quite an introduction. I thank you, and thank you for having us. It's so wonderful to be a part of this.
Well, we're extremely excited to come across this project. I know that, as we'll get into, you don't see many stories like this. So I'm thrilled to be able to present this to not only our audiences, but in the hopes that people will continue to discover this project as they move on.
Thank you.
Of course. Next, we have co-creator, writer, and star of After Forever, Kevin Spirtus. Kevin's a 30-year acting veteran, including the undeniably delicious role of Dr. Craig Wesley on NBC's Days of Our Lives, as well as dozens of leading television and Broadway credits. As a producer, his projects of recent include co-producing the critically acclaimed Broadway revival of Finian's Rainbow, as well as co-producer of the Broadway musical Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. What's up, Kevin? How are you?
Hey, Damien. Thanks for having us. Happy birthday, dude.
Thank you. This is the kind of stuff that when you take over Outfest, you get to do. You get awards for your birthday.
I know. I'm so proud of you. And I'm like Michael said, it's a real honor to have all your support, have the festival support, and to have known you for as long as we've known each other, and to get to come together this way. Thank you.
I know. I feel like we could do a whole nother Q&A about how we met, our history in Los Angeles. But
Are you sure you want to? I haven't heard the story personally.
We'll spare it on this Pride Day, but if it's popular enough, we'll bring it back. And finally, of course, I'd love to bring in Tina Sessa Ward, Season 2's director. Tina is both a writer and director of both film, digital series, and stage. Prior to After Forever, Tina's co-executive producing credits, where she co-wrote and also directed the hit independent scripted drama series Anyone But Me, winner of both the Writers Guild of America Award for Original New Media. Hey, Tina, what's going on?
Hey there. Hey, thanks for having us. Sorry for my on-location situation here, but had camping plans with a very special birthday for a friend. But I've found a little nook here to tune in and be a part of this. I didn't want to miss it for sure.
I thought you might have found like one of those newsroom backdrops that was animated.
Yeah,
I'm like, wow.
No,
I have goat sounds in my backyard, so we can bring a little bit more engagement to these things.
See,
Yeah.
You all are West Coast people. We don't have
Yes.
backyards in New York.
Well, welcome everyone. I can't tell you how excited I am to be having you all join in this conversation. I know when I discovered the series last year, it was something that I always equated to that moment. You know, everybody's like, "What's your favorite queer film? What's that film?" And where you really just to kind of acknowledge yourself. And I remember The Wedding Banquet for me was that moment, that first kind of rom-com. I know a lot say trick, but that one project where you just suddenly said, there might be a future for me. And as we age, I think that even became more detrimental as, you know, we were looking for those long-term relationships that really we could identify with. And so I was very, very excited to come across this project just personally, and would love to just jump in with maybe a couple questions to get us started. I know we have a lot of the cast that's going to be joining us for the next hour, and so I want to give them plenty of time for us to get to know not only this project if you're just discovering it, but the incredible story of how it all came together. So the first off is, well, what's it like to be Emmy nominated and Emmy winners, and adding that title to your careers at this point in your career?
I'm going to jump in.
Jump in.
It's extraordinary, and especially extraordinary that it's for this project. I've been Emmy nominated many times before, but always for other people's projects that I was working on.
Mm-hmm.
And to have a project that came from my heart, from Kevin's heart, and from that is so close to us emotionally on so many levels, it's just such a special kind of gratification.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump on that. You know, the thing that Michael and I really pride ourselves on is keeping the story ours and keeping the story that we wanted to tell ours. We could have tried to sell this or get an executive producer or a studio and have to go by their, you know,
have to listen to some suits.
Yeah, and you know what? We told the story we wanted to tell, and that's what's in our hearts. And I think to be honored, this was our little series that could. I just wanted to create a piece of content or a role that I could do because there were no roles coming down the pipe with my name on it. And when Michael and I reconnected, it was just, it told itself, and that's the honor. And I couldn't be more honored to be working with a partner like him. He's taught me so much, and he's made me a better actor and a better creator. And thank you, Michael. And also it's about time. So, you know, there's the whole answer.
Tina, I have a really good question for you. And I think coming from media, it was so funny. I remember that moment in my career when everybody's like, can we just stop saying digital media and just started saying just media? And you know, I was looking at your credits and experiences, and many of them are in my favorite genre, which is, you know, the non-traditional, the digital, the short series, and all of these really impactful new formats that I think people are really recognizing are new forms of entertainment. What was it like to bring some of that experience onto this project, and what can you say for audiences that are just now discovering some of these quote unquote new mediums of why they're so exciting to direct and to obviously view?
Yeah, well, I mean, the great thing about the web, and I've always loved it, is it's at its best when it serves the underserved audiences. Like it's the best place. I mean, there's so many audiences out there that don't get served by TV or movies, and the web is really where you can find all these stories. And I think the web's really embraced that, and we've really embraced the web to help tell our stories. So I'm like a huge fan of it, obviously, and you know, 2008, Anyone But Me came into the space, and I've done a number of web series since then. And, I just always continue to love it. I try, working in television as well. But the thing I just love about the web is it lets me tell these wonderful stories. Like, where would we see the After Forever story on television? Sadly, nowhere right now. So it's the place where we can find it. And I think a lot more people, I'm hoping a lot more of our community goes and embraces it more and goes and searches out a lot more series, because there's so many great stories out there. So I loved coming onto this project because, again, I love projects that tell stories with characters we don't get to hear from, that we don't see on television. And I really love the idea of a gay love story between middle-aged men. Like, when do we get to see that story again? So I loved being a part of that and kind of coming into it from there. So it's been a real thrill for me. So,
and you were delicious to work with, Tina.
Absolutely. No, and
you gave us what was on the page, and I know you made me a better actor and helped us along, and I just thank you for being part of this second season.
It's my pleasure, for sure. I hope to have done it well.
Well, also because it's not an easy job to step in for season 2 of something that has had such great success in season 1. And and when we were talking with Tina, it was, yes, we want your input and we want your mark on this, but we also need to make sure that we respect what has been created and don't lose that in and I thought one of the things that Tina did so brilliantly is that she was able to both honor what we already were and take us to a different level through who she is as a director.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big compliment. Thank you so much.
From my heart.
Thank you.
I love the love on these types of projects. I love when it all kind of comes together.
That's been such a big part of this project is, I mean, the actors can talk about it later, but, digital series, it's a SAG-AFTRA contract, but you're working for $1.98. And the level of actor that we've had and the people who just read the scripts and said, yes, I don't care what I'm getting paid. I want to be part of this, has been so gratifying, and the love in the room because of it.
No, and I, you can sense that in just the story and watching it as well. And I think one of the things that we talk about the challenges of bringing these projects to, there's so much opportunity, but then there's so much noise in which you're trying to self-distribute and produce, and so I'm really happy that organizations like Outfest are starting to get a lot more digital series in as recommendations and just discovery, because I think this if this is where a lot of our underrepresented are being represented, it's an opportunity for us to really take our own next step forward into the future and really highlight these types of projects.
And can I say one thing on that, Damien? Is After Forever has always missed the deadline to get into Outfest proper, but what we found is that because people love to binge this series, it feels like you're watching a feature, and you gave that response to me when we first started talking about this. I think that the impact of the emotional journey that these characters take is so much stronger by watching it, even with the credits rolling up in between each time. It's so lovely, and it's like a little feature. So thank you for having it.
And if I can jump in with something else there, based on what you were saying, one of the things that's been also incredibly gratifying is that we have this story about a middle-aged love story, but we have a viewership and fan mail from gay, straight, trans, 20-year-olds, 80-year-olds, everybody in between, male, female. I mean, it's and these letters from people who talk about how the series has moved them, and that we are reaching such a wide demographic, and people are responding. I mean, remember a few years back, or more than a few, I guess, Brokeback Mountain, and oh my God, it's just some gay people are going to see this. And now with this, I mean, it is so gratifying to see, despite all the crap that is going on in our society right now, we have come somewhere that other audiences also are identifying with these two men and giving themselves over to be part of it, to just live in it.
I completely agree. I think it's one of those things that I'm not shocked to hear about the diversity of groups that are finding and discovering this and really being compelled. I think that's one of the most exciting things, even as we're defining what makes queer stories anymore, is that they are becoming so approachable because, as we've been safe to come out more, I'm excited to see that people are resonating with the same types of issues that all of us go through. And in that same vein, so what was kind of the aha moment? What was the inspiration for creating this particular series versus all the other different types of projects? What was it about this moment in time that really you were gravitated to?
Well, when Michael used to write for Days of Our Lives when I was still acting on it, and we had never met, and he approached me at the gym one day and said, "I think you're Kevin Spiritus. I used to write for you on Days," and that was like our introduction. But web series were very important to me at that time. I was seeing how they were starting to move and take over, and people who are invested in being honest and being personal with their truth and their story they were able to create these love letters, these projects. And I just struck up this conversation with Michael, and I said, I want to do a story about gay older men, single or dating.
Which I immediately responded to as, oh, this, that is something that speaks to me. I'm there.
And I knew nothing about Michael, nothing about him. He knew, I really didn't. And
no.
We got to know each other over these cups of coffee and these meetings. When we started, he asked me this great question. He said, "Why is someone like you single, Kevin?" And I joked about it and said, "Have you eaten with me?" And I didn't know anything about him.
I hadn't yet. I had thought. Now I understand.
And then I said to Michael, what about you? Are you involved with anyone? And he said he had lost his partner about 2 years prior. And there was this wonderful, holy quietness. I can only explain it as, and we went, what if we kind of created,
back a moment. Kevin had said, we were kicking out for days, of meetings, we were kicking ideas around, and Kevin had said, well, what if it, we sort of center on this guy in dating, and I said, well, generically that does not interest me, but the question is why? But why is somebody who's 50 dating? Mm-hmm. And that's which right. Then led to the conversation about me having lost my partner.
And then I asked him, "Do you still talk to him?"
And I said, "Well, yeah, all the time. I mean, just because he's physically gone doesn't, mean he's not around in some way." And I think there was like a day or two before our next meeting, and I came back and said, what if we use that as our kernel, this loss? And Kevin sort of basically just said, oh, that would be amazing. That's so much deeper. That would be so cool. But are you willing to go there? And I said, yeah, I've thought about it a lot, and I feel like I'm at a point where I'm ready to not make this autobiographical, because it is not. I mean, the kernel is the diagnosis and the decision, but to explore grief.
Right, and we also talked about, and the grief being that a relationship does not necessarily end when someone dies. Right. Love never ends; it continues on, and
how different when you lose somebody because they die is to breaking up, when you can't wait to never see them again. Right.
So. No, I absolutely think it's been I love the format, and it harkens back to, I think, a lot of films and projects from my youth, and always having this fantasy, of course, of like being at your own funeral or being able to be there after it all, ends, and it's such an inspiring thing, especially for closure for so many of us that have lost anybody, to be able to go through that.
Well, everyone's going to go through it.
Yeah.
Or they're going to, and
whether it's a spouse or a parent or a best friend,
teacher,
absolutely,
for a pet, we all, it's part of life.
Yeah. So that's what makes it the universal theme that we love.
Yeah, no. Well, I think it's time to let's bring this story to life and invite a few of our cast members to join us. Our first two the first is Mitchell Anderson, who of course plays Jason Adams. Hey, Mitchell, how are you?
Hi.
I'm sure one of the juicier parts that we want to get to with you, Mitchell, is after nearly 20 years in your acting career, you did take this sabbatical hiatus of sorts and get into what I would love to get into my next career, the restaurant business and food. And we'll be very interested to hear what inspired you to come out of your retirement of 15 years to play this incredible role. Many of you might recognize Mitchell from, of course, his role as Dr. Jack McGuire on Doogie Howser and Ross Workman on Party of Five, which are both well within my repertoire. So I'm sure I have those DVDs still somewhere in my basement. I'm just glad that On Demand exists anymore. And then I'd also like to invite Mike Mcgowan, who plays David. Mike is an actor whose television and credits include Law and Order, Madam Secretary, Blind Spot, The Good Fight, and Time After Time. And of course, his film credits include Here and Now, which is one of my favorite films, opposite of Renee Zellweger, along with numerous Broadway shows and performances. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to the live Q&A party with Outfest.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So I'd like to jump right in. Mitchell, what was it about this project that brought you out of this hiatus? I heard Kevin's story over a glass of wine months ago, but I would love to hear your side, since Kevin sometimes always has a very different perspective.
Well, I got a call or an email from Kevin saying, this was about 4 years ago now, and he said that he was working on a digital series. And I said, Kevin, I don't even know what that is. I have got to go make the soup, right? So he said that he and Michael were working, writing this show, and would I please read it, because they were going to get it made, and it was going to be great. And I said, Kevin, I don't act anymore, but I would love to read it, because why not? So I remember sitting in my office. And I put the script on my computer thinking I would read a couple pages, and I read the entire first season, and I'm weeping. And I'm weeping because the story is so beautiful, but I'm also sort of weeping because I thought, Kevin thinks I can do this. I hadn't worked in that capacity in many, many, many years. I mean, I left show business behind and was very happy and have been happy doing what I'm doing in the culinary world. Also getting to perform once in a while, but to have somebody who I love and have known for so many years sort of have that kind of faith in me. And I went to my husband and said, hey, what do you think about this? Kevin is sure that it's going to get done. And in the back of my mind is like, I can't believe this will ever happen. So I said, sure, Kevin, I would love to do it. Call me when it's ready. And sure enough, about a year later, he said, be in New York, April 1st. We're going to start shooting. And I did.
That's the story I told.
Just pretty accurate. Yes.
Well, I mean, seriously, when I had a lot of great parts over the years, but I never had a part that asked so much of me in terms of the emotional arc of this character. It's incredibly rangy. I get to be funny, but incredibly tragic. And I just thought, wow, this is an amazing opportunity. And the cool thing is that when I actually did go to do it, all of that sort of acting bullshit that happens when you're, in your young 20s and 30s fell behind me, because I didn't need anything out of this except the absolute joy of being around all these amazing artists and, my friend Kevin and Michael and Jennifer Pepperman, and this year Tina, and all these amazing New York actors like Michael and Katie Hoffman. And I was like, this is Disneyland for me. And it was a total vacation from my normal work.
Oh, I love that story. Well, I'm just glad to hear that it did not have to do with any kind of secret internet blog group for just retired television doctors.
You're right. Well,
that's right. Mr. You and I were both doctors.
That's hilarious.
It was almost part of my great big Outfest public health campaign with COVID. Mike, what brought you into this project? What was so attractive about this role that I mean, I know I don't see these things often represented within our film or even Broadway. So what was it?
Well, Kevin and I know each other from auditions, and we've had some conversations years ago about producing. Kevin also was in my husband's movie, Bloodbound. My husband is Richard LeMay. He's a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And so Kevin and I had a history, and a few years ago now, 3 years, we did the reading. He brought me on for that 4 years ago, and then did season 1 and season 2. And I think I'll just repeat what everyone else has said. I think it's a story we don't get to hear, and it's also not a coming out story or a story about AIDS, which it seems a lot of gay movies, especially for men, gear toward that. It's just people living their lives, and I find that interesting. So that's what attracted me to it.
I think one of the more exciting things, and it's a very provocative statement, is also to have out actors playing these roles in a world in which, of course, that light is being shined on so many of these things. And not to say that I don't know plenty of allies that are out there playing queer roles. I think it's incredible, and vice versa. But I can tell you that it was really meaningful for me because an era that we grew up in, and Kevin, I know you've spoken to this a lot about what it's like to be an out actor, at least back when we were younger, and what that must mean to be able to portray these roles, pulling from a whole unique toy box that we don't get to play with. I know a lot when getting in deeper into these roles.
Well, that's something I also, when you asked us the first question, how does it feel? If you would have told me 20 years ago I would have stepped into a role like this, I would have been able to move into my truth and be celebrated for it, to thank my leading man, now my leading men. It's extraordinary, and it's something that as a little boy, as a young man, and someone who's working through the world of straight Hollywood, I was so scared of. And Mitchell was always one of my heroes anyway, because he came out very early and was, so strong in his beliefs. And I'm honored to do it, and I'm honored to be part of this game. And again, Michael helped add levels to that. So
I also think that having all of these gay men be played by gay men created a really special bond on set for everybody, a special kind of experience. And I think that's reflected in the work that you see on the finished product.
Well, you know what's also interesting about that with Billy Bachtrop and Michael and just all of us having gone through our early careers, making decisions along the way on how much to let people in, how much to put ourselves out there, what kind of roles we can feel comfortable taking. I did make that decision in the mid-90s that because I was playing a gay character on Party of Five, it didn't make sense for me at age, 30, 31 years old, to be in the closet. That just didn't resonate or make sense to me. But we all have such great respect for one another's path. And I think that that's really key when you get to be our age, is that you look back and we all know that when, back in the 80s and the early 90s, it was a different world. And we had to negotiate it, as Kevin said, in a way that was comfortable to us and without judgment, without expectation, and really just hold it close. And I hope that our path does make it easier for the kids that are coming up now to express themselves in their absolute fullness and their sexuality and their range of sexuality, but also as an artist, as also in their artistry, because we did kind of lay the groundwork and people before us laid the groundwork.
No, I totally agree. And I think one of the more inspiring things is also that, what used to be referred to as niche, the LGBT storylines or characters are now becoming as mainstream as anything. And whether it's a rom-com or it's a horror movie or it's any number of those type of genres, I really am excited to see that this is going mainstream, that people really are tuning in. As we heard, so many people are identifying with your two characters, and that's just a joy to hear from.
Well, I did a movie that was in Outfest in 1998 maybe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Relax, It's Just Sex with Jennifer Tilly, and it was an ensemble piece that really should have been a big hit.
Yeah.
But it was 2 years too soon. It was an ensemble piece about gay, straight, lesbian group of friends that get together, that go through an amazing, difficult experience. And yes, it was about sex. It was about how sex is involved in all those parts of life. But because of that, it was very difficult for any distributor to pick it up and put it out into the theater. So it really didn't get the sort of attention that it should have, except at maybe Outfest and a couple other festivals.
Well, I'm excited to hear that we were championing your work then, and even more excited that we're able to do it now. I thank you both for coming on board for this conversation, and we wish you in the series and all of your projects the best of luck. And we'll hopefully have you back on.
Thanks, Mitchell. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
It's one of the things that one of the things also that was really important to us in this, God bless that, Will and Grace and Modern Family and the things they do. However, to the best of my knowledge, certainly in like Modern Family, and you see every other couple in that show be physical with each other. You never see the gay couple physical unless it's in a really goofy, jokey way, and they don't really, and I know it's mainstream network television, and they have to move more slowly towards things, and if it weren't for those, those shows have all done enormous things in terms of the general population being interested in and accepting in our stories. So I give them all kudos for that. But it was very important to us that these relationships be honest.
And one of the things with Mitchell, by the way, when we cast him, was Mitchell and I have known each other for 25, 30 years. And I wanted to be able to work with someone who I believed in as an actor, but also who I just had this great friendship with, and I could just jump in. And we never worked together. We were just always friends at auditions. And so it was such a great joy to be able to just intimately go right into this. And it was lovely.
No, I totally agree with you. I think it's those kind of relationships that we have sometimes, those brotherhoods and sisterhoods of our past, that sometimes make it the most special when we finally get to collaborate and work on together. Well, I'd love to invite our next two amazing characters and talent from the show. Erin Cherry, who plays Brenda, is an Emmy Award-winning actress and also hosts Sundays with a Cherry on Top, which I now have to check out on YouTube's Black Culture. Welcome.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And we also have Jonathan Grayson, who plays Mark, who is an incredible singer and also talent on Broadway and television regular. Hey, Jonathan, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, Damien. Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. These are the perks that you get when you're an executive director. You get to, you always have your programming team picking the Outfest favorites, but the rest of the year I get to start having fun with this wonderful digital moment that we're all in. Well, I'd love to jump right in. I mean, Erin, I think especially in a project like this, it's so important for us to be representing all characters and all storylines, and also seeing the love interest in your role, I think, is always so fantastic. We're actually showcasing on the same platform that the show is on, a Black lesbian film called Drip Like Coffee, and I got an opportunity to Drips Like Coffee. So please go check it out. But I got to introduce and talk to the filmmakers and some of the talent behind that yesterday on a Q&A we did. Can you tell us a little bit of what attracted you to this particular project, and what are you hoping people take away from your storyline and your character?
Oh, I love that question. What excited me, the script excited me, but my relationship with Michael Slade, because when we met over coffee, like Kevin Spears met with Michael over coffee, it was the energy that I had with him, the way that he just really listened to me when I talked to him about how I wanted Brenda to be on camera, because as a Black woman, it's very important for me that Black women are portrayed authentically. And I wanted to make sure that, 20, 30, 50 years from now, when people look back and they see this beautiful show, that a Black woman watching the show sees herself in some capacity. And we just hit it off. We talked for 3 hours. I mean, and not just about the show, just about life and just about humanity in general. And I was really excited when he did reach out to me and said to me that he wanted me to come and play Brenda, because I knew the relationship that we had, the way that our spirits connected. I knew I would be safe. And then on set, it was the same thing. I'm new to this genre. I'm coming on with all these seasoned actors who've been doing this for a long time. And my first day coming in, just being really nervous, Kevin just took me under his wing and answered any questions I had, and just really in between takes, we would just talk and go over our lines. And he really made me feel part of the family right when we met, because that's the first time I met with him. It's on set. And the whole company just brought me in and took me in, Jennifer and even Tina. And so I knew when I met Michael, it was going to be a great thing because of the way he just walks in the world.
Can I just add a comment on that I'm a big fan, not with theater projects, but with television projects and film projects. Whether it's actors or directors, it's not about auditions for me. It's about sitting down and really, how open can this person be, and who are they, and what's that kind of connection? And Cherry in that first coffee said, this may be out of place to ask you, but I feel like there's something missing here about, like how Brenda and Brian got to be friends. I mean, she's his work wife assistant in the office. And I said, well, that's a really good question. I know why, but it's kind of missing. And I said, thank you for that. And it was the ability to not ask it in I demand something, but to just say, I've studied these scripts, and there feels like there's a little nugget that's missing for me. And I literally went, I think I called Kevin later. I went home and I added, I think it's all of about 3 lines in this scene, but it completely in season 1 that suddenly gave a whole other depth to her that everything else resonated off of, hopefully. And but I just respected the intellect. I like smart actors. I like working with smart people.
And Michael is also very open to, if there's something that he's not in the know about, or he doesn't have quite the experience about it, he's very open to hearing it and to considering it and to threading it through in a new way. So we're all finding a way. I mean, even we created this crazy piece called After Her, but there's times I go, I never speak like that, and maybe we find ways. So it's
And sometimes you just say, shut up and say it.
I feel like that only works
You know what I'm saying.
I'm just kidding.
So Jonathan, with your portrayal of Mark, where was there anything unidentifiable or even unidentifiable in the types of characters that you were seeing in whether it be television or film that you really thought was important to kind of come through with this character, and also just in the show in general? I think we talked a lot about earlier of representation and needing to see visibleness in our own lives of such a critical piece. But in your particular role, what were you really hoping for? What were you looking for?
Well, I think what I was, you've probably already heard the story, but like a year before we started shooting, we sat down to a read through of this, and I just immediately fell in love with this show. And Michael's words are so easy to say. It makes it so easy to play these characters when the words fit so nicely in your mouth. That's not always the case with writers. And I think what I was really drawn to in Mark and Peter was and Riley is the grounded, the sort of grounded, the grounding force that we all are, I think, in the show. I think that we're sort of the stable family unit and offer some grounding foil to some of the other drama and comedy that's going on in the show. And that's really what I was drawn to. I guess I would say, there are differences between me and Mark, but I love how close he is to me and how it doesn't I don't have to wrestle myself into this role. You know what I mean? It really is it just fits like a glove, I feel like. And it's nice to it's nice to play a role like that, that I can just be me and let the differences in Mark come through me, and yeah.
And you're great. You're so great.
Thank you.
It is an awesome, fun character. I think maybe you can talk to this about something that comes through that it sounds like more and more was exhibited behind the scenes during the show, but it is that family, these family characters that obviously with a lot of us that either don't have kids or we don't have that immediate family, how warm and welcoming, especially with dealing with loss, they become critical in queer lives, and I don't feel like that's seen a lot or portrayed very accurately. Can either of you speak to something like that?
Well, I know for me, being in the show and watching the show, not just as Brenda, but as Cherry, the artist, I've never really experienced that as far as seeing a family union in this world and of the show. And I love it because I want society, especially in the time that we're in, society needs to push. We need to push and progress forward to. This is the norm. Love is love is love. So whether you're gay, straight, queer, trans, you want to have a family, you define what that family is. And I love that our show is portraying that and showing that you can have a family unit and have a very healthy, vibrant, beautiful child. And it's no different from a straight family having a beautiful, vibrant child. And for me, I'm very proud to be a part of having this on screen, because growing up, I never saw it a lot. And I think we can open the door to allow more shows to follow suit, Yeah,
and I don't have children of my own, but I do have very young nieces and nephews that what I love about now, and of course it differs across the country. I'm actually in Nebraska right now, in Omaha, Nebraska, where I grew up, which is a very different place than New York City. However, there really is a lot of diversity here, and I love that my nieces and nephews are growing up in a world where they go to school with friends who have all different kinds of families. Do you know what I mean? There are two dads, there are two moms, there are mixed race couples, and one person family, one parent. And that's thrilling to me, because growing up here in Nebraska, I didn't, like Cherry was saying, I didn't see a lot of, not only did I not see a lot of me on television, but I didn't see a lot of me in the world around me. You know what I mean? So I'm thrilled that we can be bringing this to audiences, and that they're responding so strongly to it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Well, I want to thank both of you for joining us for this incredible segment, and just really appreciate both of your work, and can't wait to see more of this to come. So thank you, Cherry, and thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you,
having me.
Damian. Bye, guys. Great to see you.
Okay. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Bye.
Oh, amazing. Well, to keep the party rolling, of course, two of my favorite characters is the Pauls. So I would love to bring.
Thing 1 and thing 2.
I don't know why gays tend to always be attracted to their twins sometimes, but when it goes by name, it makes it even more entertaining. So I would love to invite both actors Jameson Stern and David Dean Brothwell to our party here. Hey there, gentlemen. How are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Well, I honestly have a question to just jump right in for the both of you. And, as one of the most notable gay couples portrayed in After Forever.
And to you, my friend.
Well,
wait.
You don't.
They didn't tell me I could have anything other than water. I feel like
It's kind of late on the East Coast.
it is a little happy hour time.
It's all a surprise to me. You don't see the Pauls without a cocktail.
That's true. It's very important.
It's 100%.
As the most notable, one of the most notable, other than of course our main couple, and as being out in your own lives and having hopefully a couple long-term relationships that I've gotten the chance to work through. But what did you? One finally married me. It's just like, thank God we couldn't get married earlier though, because I feel like my third divorce. But enough about me. Back to After Forever. What do you feel After Forever gets right about the representation of LGBTQ long-term relationships that otherwise wasn't something that we found before in media?
Jameson?
David, you wrote a book. You should.
You're right.
I thought it was just going to be. It was like, where'd you learn to be funny?
How
much of that is ad-libbed? That was what I was waiting for.
I'll tell you what I loved about it was I just felt so lucky because I had just moved back to New York after 23 years in Los Angeles, and I barely unpacked my bags when the phone rang. And I knew Michael socially. I knew Kevin we've been on a couple of panels or something together somewhere. But I knew both of them, slightly. And they said, "Hey, we're doing this thing. Would you like to be a part of it?" And what I loved about it when I started to read it was the fullness of the representation of the families that we put together in our lives. And yes, there's a lovely, stable, family that's raising a child, and then there's us. And we are not going to raise a child. That would be a terrible idea.
Thank God.
That would be a terrible idea. And we are, we can be a little.
Just don't ever open the basement door.
Right. And we are who we are, and we run this restaurant. And I guess we're successful at it, from what I gather. And we also have a lot of opinions, and we can be a little bitchy from time to time. But what I do also love is that we are fiercely loyal to our circle. We are fiercely loyal to our friends. And if you are, for people, in our age range, I feel kind of lucky, and not to take it to our history exactly, but I do feel lucky to be a man of my age. And I lost a lot of friends, 30 years ago. And I'm so glad that for the ones I have, and they really matter to me. And those friendships are dear. And I would go to the mat for pretty much all of my friends. And it was nice to see all the different kinds of friends that made up the family that surrounded, this couple that the story is centered on. So I kind of love that about it, that we weren't, you might not want to introduce us to your parents, but we're pretty fun to have over on Saturday.
Depends who your parents are, I guess, right?
Yes, right.
I guess it does.
What I've always loved about the show, and I've said this since before we even started, is that it's grown. I'm sure this has been spoken about before we got here. I got kicked out of the green room, so I couldn't watch. There were too many people. No, there really were. Whatever. So I'm sure somebody's already said this, but it's grown. David wasn't kicked out.
No.
Anyway,
He's the writer.
we didn't have to write for them. This is what it was like on set.
David wrote a book. I listened to it. Because I can't read. Anyway, it's grown adults playing grown adults. That's my first favorite thing. It is gay men of a certain age. I know before I got kicked off, Tina talked about, how amazing that is. And it's about friendships, and we all, as gay people, some people are really fortunate and have an amazing family, and I have some amazing family, and some people don't have any amazing family related by blood, and so this is a TV show about your chosen family. We do see fireworks. Why?
It's fun.
Anyway, I just realized I have AirPods in. You guys didn't hear fireworks.
Oh, we heard it.
So okay, good. So this is all about Kevin's character's chosen family, and sometimes those are the people who are way more helpful in your life than your blood family, even if you have awesome relationships with your blood family, which absolutely I do. But there is something to be said about best friends, and I get teased all the time. If anybody I know is watching right now, I have a lot of best friends. I have 6 to 8 best friends, and there's categories, and they're all number one.
Always.
But that's because, as a gay man, you have to, I think you cultivate that. And so I think that's what's cool about the show. And I didn't know it was a drama because I had never been on set during any dramatic scenes. And so until we won the Emmy for Best Drama, I was like, wait, no one was I should have watched it.
It's like when they have to do musical versus drama, and it's like, what was it? A certain percentage has to be around a specific genre.
It was always a musical when David and I were there. So I can
imagine. I'm surprised there isn't the musical breakout set, Kevin, the end of the seasons that are becoming very popular, right? I would highly encourage.
Michael won't let me see on the series, so
yeah,
Michael.
I'll be expecting at least one episode to be.
I've had to write those scenes for other shows, and it would take a whole lot of drugs to have to write the one again.
Jameson,
I can get you that.
Yeah. So what you're saying, Michael, is we just need your address.
This was a request out to the worldwide community who is watching this at the moment.
You know what? You don't have to write this. We'll just improv it.
There's that possibility. The other thing I wanted to just kick in that I really loved about this and continue to, and both in this season and the one that's coming up, when we were finally released from quarantine and we can shoot the 3rd season, is there are a lot of chapters to life, and this particular chapter, not that there's been a big explosion of gay stories being told on television and film, and that's wonderful, but I had not seen this particular chapter ever represented before, and I just thought it was wonderful to see it. And speaking of somebody, somebody over 50, when the idea of there was a time not too long ago where I thought, wow, I think that's my last chapter. I think I don't really know what's next. I don't think there's going to be another great love in my life. And, just around the time that we started shooting this, I actually met somebody that I've been with since. And it is such a wonderful sort of, it's such an endorsement of life can go on. And yes, it's dicey, and yes, it's difficult, but there's always the option. There's the option to spin the wheel and try again, and you might get lucky. Something good could happen. And also just to see, I have known people who've gone through the loss of a partner. That's part of a lot of our histories for many years. And it is a very big thing. It is, you are not the same after that. As much as you want to be, you're just not. You have to become, you're a new person. And so how you're going to come at this is going to be very different. And I just thought that was beautiful. And it's really fun also for Jason and I to kind of be the kind of comic relief in the series. It's really it's a great pleasure. And my God, the people we get to work with I mean, from the day I walked onto that set, I thought, wow.
Such assholes. No.
And the great thing is that Michael and I like to always say, you know, it is a dramatic story, but it's told with humor, and it's touching. But there's a lot of fun and a lot of humor.
Well, I mean, one of the big differences for me between, and I have a great love and affection for daytime drama, but daytime drama takes the humor that is always present in life out. And the reality is that even in the absolute darkest moments, there is something funny going on in the corner. And you just have to, you may not notice it unless you look for it, but it's
Michael, you have to turn that camera off in my room. I'm sorry. That's not okay. Anyway,
oh, but come on. It's
the one thing that I love about
it's a good corner.
I'm single.
Finding the humor and everything. Well, David and Jameson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thing one and thing two.
We love the project, and we're really hoping this, along with all of our love and attention, can bring so many more audiences to this particular project and really keep the love spreading. So thank you both for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. He ends up with Brad Pitt at the end. It's awesome.
We knew Kevin would write something like that eventually.
And Brad had said yes tentatively. So.
Yeah.
No.
Well, thank you both.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See, I warned you all. This thing goes by so quickly.
Yeah,
It's all good.
Especially when people are so passionate. Well, I'm really excited to bring in our last group before we say adieu to the project. I think some of our season 2 players are so exceptional and really driving this thing forward. And I think everybody's always like nail biting, like, where do you go from here? And so finding the type of talent that you continue to find to be a part of the project is really exciting. So I'd love to first bring on Christopher. Kevin, help me out. Is it Hanky or?
Hanky.
Yep. All right. When you have a Latin last name. Hey, Christopher, how are you?
I'm well. Good to see you, Damien. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And Christopher, by the way, plays a great role in one of my favorite films that are also on, was on, I don't know if it is United in Pride Fest, but Breaking Fast.
It's still on. I think it's still on. It's still on your World Network online.
That means we haven't hit the views yet, right? Because it's all about making sure. Yeah. But if you haven't seen Breaking Fast, they refer to it as the first Ramadan rom-com, and is an excellent project, as well as a part of Anthem. We just recently we're secretly launching the Outfest podcast soon, and John Cameron Mitchell is one of our first episodes. So we'll have to tune in and hear a little bit.
Love it. John's a deer. You're gonna love it.
Amazing. Yeah. We also have Wyatt Fenner, who plays Luca in season 2. Hello, Wyatt.
Hi.
As an actor, has been featured in some of my favorite shows, including Bones, Veronica Mars, and Gotham. Gotham's amazing, and we're just so excited to have you as a part of this group. And this is something I've never seen before, but we have a 7th camera coming on with Katie Huffman, who is a Tony Award winner and also Emmy nominee for After Forever. Were we able to get Katie in here?
I think one of us has to go, so we're working on it.
Oh, gotcha.
I can say goodbye for a minute and come back on.
I was wondering what her cap was. Which
I'll say goodbye. Bring Katie on for a second.
No. Wait, oh, he's gone.
Tina, you're stuck.
I can totally duck out if you want to bring Kevin back in.
Why aren't you directing this?
So now we can get into the really juicy stuff, everyone. Kevin's gone, so
that was the purpose.
I'm texting him, you drop off. No, you drop off. Well, welcome. Yeah, welcome everyone. I'm so excited to be able to bring this project to even more attention than I think it deserves. And especially with season 2 now, with all of the binge watching going on, nobody has to wait to see what happens. But I would love to dive in a little bit into each of your we've been asking this from many of the actors and storytellers. What was it that drew you into this role? I'm going to pick Wyatt to begin because I think it's always an amazing character to see, somebody like you. We were just talking about the need for comic relief and these dramas and that one that always finds the perfect beats and breaks. Maybe you can can kick us off there.
No, I really appreciate that. When I got the opportunity to read this season and realize what the story continued to be after the first season, I was so thrilled because when I was a teenager, my mom outed me when I was 15. She read my journal. And she was totally cool about it, but she gave me this stack of DVDs and she was like, here are some gay movies you can watch. And they were all wonderful, but they all centered around trauma, and the trauma had to do with society not accepting people. Whereas the trauma of this story is about, you know, heart healing and coping with life as any person would need to, not because society doesn't accept you as a gay person. And that aspect of the story was so amazing to me, to realize that from now on, generations of teenage boys whose moms give them stacks of DVDs to help teach them to be gay will have the opportunity to see that a story about love and family and aspiration, and in Luca's case, great ambition, is just as applicable to them as to anyone else. So that was what really hooked me. And then also the chance to get involved with everyone. The team was so incredible.
No, I'm glad we have something in common. That is, our moms both outed us at a very young age. So, yeah, mine overheard me say "ditto" from Ghost was very popular at the time. So the ball started rolling from there. Christopher, would you like to let us know how did you discover this project, and why was this something important for you to play in?
Well, you know, we have Outfest to thank for this connection for me to this project, because last year you were premiering a film by a good friend of mine, Mike Doyle, who wrote a film called, it's now called Sell By, but I think when it was at Outfest last summer, it was called what, Damien? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember it, but I remember
Almost Love, I think. Yeah, you're right. Well, and so I was at the premiere in LA at Outfest last year, and when I was leaving the screening, I ran into Kevin, who was in line to either see the second screening of Sell By, or maybe he was going to see a different movie. I can't remember, but we ran. It was like a little, like he was just doing the red carpet, and I was leaving, and we chatted, and he was telling me about the success of season 1 and the Emmy Awards, and which I was like, that's incredible, and then it was just kind of like what is there a part for me? And he was like, maybe, actually. Like, it was just like a even, it was more just off the cuff and friendly, and just, you know, but that happens in this business all the time, right? Like, someone's like, I have a thing for you, and then you never hear from them. And then Kevin followed up on that, and I watched season 1, and I thought that the product was just so good. And I've been asked to do web series many times in the past, and I just never felt like it was a right fit for me. And I felt like the content was just so beautiful, and agreed that this is a story that you don't see. And so I wanted to be a part of that journey. And I respected all the artists, mostly all theater artists, and I'm from the theater originally. And so to be working on on a TV show with a bunch of theater actors is also always exciting. So I think that's what drew me to it.
Yeah, I didn't realize we were getting so many Outfest plugs, but I'm happy to hear that we are joining people together. I just heard recently that Laverne Cox had snuck into our Trans Summit either last year or the year before, and that's where she met Sam Feder to produce in The Disclosure, the film that, of course,
amazing
is groundbreaking and incredible. So I'm happy to hear that. Katie, same. I mean, you've got an incredible background in theater. You know, I kept telling Kevin the fact that I desperately want just a musical theater episode. Seeing the credits with everyone.
Well, Kevin's dying for a musical theater episode too. Believe me, he wants everybody to know, sing and dance.
But I would love to hear your story.
Yeah, you know, Kevin asked me a couple of years ago to do this, and we barely knew each other. What drew me to it is, you know, growing older, and this is an age group that does get pretty much overlooked, and it's also an age group who went through some really serious times together, particularly with the AIDS crisis. You know, and my friends were dying when I was 20, and now my friends are living with HIV. And not that this show has anything to do with it, but to show that, you know, homosexuals don't only die of HIV, that we lose people to other diseases because we're all just human. And it, as it's being said several times tonight, it's, yeah, I mean, Wyatt, thank you for that, sharing your experience with your mom. Because yeah, like how many films can we watch where, you know, the poor gay kid is getting bashed and have, you know, it's like, no, these are just normal people. And I'm a normal woman who's had, you know, very close friends my whole life in real life. And then there's Lisa, who has her best friend pass away. And this is someone we went through a lot together. You know, I'm getting emotional because it's by the time you're in your 50s, you've had some stuff happen. And Jason was who I counted on to go through all of that with, to raise my children with, to help me pick a husband, to, you know, it's, you have that one special friend. He happens to be gay and he happens to be married to that other guy. And yeah, I just like how it respected, you know, us at this weird transitional middle age. You know, what the hell do you do with us? Because yeah, it is weird. It's when children go to college. It's when, you know, empty nests happen. It's just it's a complicated moment that's not often seen. And I think that to bring in the community that I'm so close with and have, you know, I was a teenage drag queen in La Cage aux Folles when I was 18 years old, you know, during Great Gay Pride Week in San Francisco. And, you know, I don't know. You know, what seems so normal to me is obviously not normalized to everyone. And I just want to see, I just want to see everybody have a life, you know, just have a life and and be respected and have dignity.
Mm-hmm. Katie, if I may, I think the beautiful thing about what you just said is very, Michael and I love that there's no handbook for grief. There's no particular right street or right entry, or you have to go through it on your own. And Michael has been so beautifully brave about showing what his was and parts of it. But we also this season we brought everybody in, and I think that's something the scene where you and I have on the pier. You know, everyone has to go through grief in their own way.
I mean, in this season, we very consciously, you know, Brian is not the only one grieving.
Mm-hmm.
Friends and family are also grieving and trying to find their way through this because the world has been turned upside down for all of them. And, you know, and just off of something that Katie said, you know, there's something, and I'm speaking for how I felt when I lost my partner, but I think I've been talking to other people who've been there, that as a gay man, we lost so many people during the AIDS crisis years that we sort of felt like, well, we got through that. We're supposed to have a pass. You know, we're not now supposed to die of those things that everybody else is dying of too early because we went through that. And now we should be somehow entitled to what the world calls a full, long life. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, no, we're people just like everybody else, and people are going to get cancer, and people are going to get hit by a truck, and people are going to have some other horrible disease or be in the wrong place where there's a sniper. And, you know, it's just, you know.
Yeah, what Michael said, he said it's so much better.
Well, and I think also in a moment of COVID and isolation and, you know, the resilience that I'm seeing from so many in our queer community and our ally community coming together and really representing, the best of us that have gone through such a place and kind of teaching what it's like to be isolated and lonely. In fact, I keep saying that, you know, this is going to be the biggest coming out in history and hopefully biggest empathy building exercise for so many of our allies to understand what it feels like to be separated, to feel this isolated, and also to have fear that something might take your life. And so I really do feel like as we emerge from this, and over time we'll conquer, that it is something that I'm seeing so many beautiful hearts and coming together at this moment. So this is just another reflection in the stories of how we're all uniquely connected and touched by those. So I want to thank you all for coming and joining us this evening. Unfortunately, I could do this for hours. Kevin, I'll still do a closing with you.
No, I just want to. I have to huge shout out to all of us, of course, but to Alison Venor, our fearless goddess of a producer. If without her, we would not be here today. And she is such a force, and she just knew how to make it all work and make New York City the other character of our beautiful show. So I want to just thank you, Alison.
Thank you, Alison.
Thank you, Alison.
Katie, Wyatt, and Christopher, we'll say goodbye to you. We're gonna close with our thank you again for joining us this evening.
You're welcome.
All right. I'm not sure if Tina will be back.
I think her phone was dying, so I think she's anyway.
That's possible.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you.
My lingering question will just be what I hope what she hopes that her fingerprints on this show will represent. So we'll have to do a 2.0 once the next season is shot and come back. But I just wanted to thank you both again for joining us this evening. I'm really excited that we were able to finally make this happen, Kevin. And this is again one of those moments that if it wasn't for this moment, we wouldn't be having these conversations and be able to bring these types of things through Outfest. So thank you both for joining me.
Thank you for having us. It really it was wonderful.
Yeah. Thanks for just doing everything you can to help bring people together to ease the world of any outcast, any discrimination. It's beautiful. Stay safe, my friend.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.
You can also watch After Forever, the series, on Amazon after this week. Happy Pride.
Exactly. So just for everybody that's still tuning in, I do want to thank the entire crew, cast, and talents from the show that were able to join us this evening. After Forever is both available on Amazon and also will be up on www.unitedinpridefest.com until July 5th. We do encourage you to tune in as well as explore the many other feature films and short films that we've handpicked and curated for you at Outfest. I also want to thank so much of my staff who makes these types of projects and events seem so seamless, and how much I appreciate them at this moment as well. So thank you for tuning in. Be safe and healthy out there, and we'll see you soon.